This false prophet don't talk to the green gods. I should know, 'cause they told me they don't like him. He smells right funny. He's got some crazy funk about him, alright. Go and kill the Git and all his mates and get my mask back off him. They nicked it, and I want it back.
Out of all the races found in Warhammer, the tribes of the Greenskins hold a place near and dear to my and many others' hearts. They are brutally cunning, some cunningly brutal. Their voice lines are hilarious, and any game featuring them and their mindset and beliefs just literally cannot be beat. I mean, how do you expect to beat an enemy that if enough of them believe in something, then that something becomes true? Yeah, there are many fabled leaders of these spore-born loonies, but amongst all of the gobos and orcs, there is only one greenie that stands out most to me. My favorite dancing little mushroom muncher, Wurrzag the Great Green Prophet. His story is one of my favorites, so buckle up and enjoy. So, I'm not sure how popular he is in general, as his main goal is not necessarily to become the next big war boss or whatever, to conquer for himself, but he conquers for the goodness of the Greenskins as a whole. He's an orc that is constantly hearing Gork and Mork speak to the point that his brain nearly explodes. He dances everywhere and anywhere. He's sure to captivate my attention. A great greenskin shaman, Wurrzag travels around the Badlands and Southlands with the well-being of his people as a whole in mind. His objectives are to reclaim the glory of the Grainy tribes by aiding any in need. If there's a tribe that needs encouragement and assistance becoming whole again, Wurrzag is there. If there's a great war boss leaving carnage in his wake, surely Wurrzag will show up and assist them. He is known across the Greenskin territories as a good omen to his people, a lot like Grombrindle is to the dwarves. So I'll start out explaining his equipment, and we'll get into his backstory in a bit. Wurrzag is technically equipped with 3 items. He's got his Baleful Mask, which is a mask that allows Wurrzag to gaze into the future, maybe even the past, showing him the time in which the Greenskins will once again rule the old world. This mask allows him to, quote-unquote, shoot green lethal bolts of energy at people who annoy him. He found this mask on a body, but, more on that later. The next item would be the Bonewood Staff, an ancient staff carved from bonewood, a great conduit for channeling Wa energy, as well as other orc magic. He was rewarded this staff after saving the Spotted Skulls tribe in the Land of the Dead. And it's also where he constructed 2 effigies of Gork and Mork and was rewarded with his boar Splane Ripper by the Iron Pig tribe. And, of course, how could we forget his power squig, Whizbang, the tiny, hairy, angry squig that, according to lore, sits on top of his Bonewood staff, which in the game Total War Warhammer 2, it's actually in a cage on his back. So the hair of Whizbang will stand up stiff when it is full of Y energy, so pretty much all the time. And yes, this is the shaman that I will be talking about later. So if you have the mod Legendary Lord Artifact for Warhammer 2, then you also know that he's equipped with 3 other items. The Wyvern Scale Cape, the URA ZAHUBU, his last name. But the most important to me is his magic rock, which is a smooth rock Wurrzag found that he claims is magic. And although nearby orcs are healed, no one knows if it's really due to the rock or not, which is just, that's why I love Greenskins. That is hilarious. So now we can get into the lore. We can get into his story. So Wurrzag's early days were actually almost his last days. You see, Wurrzag was with the Bone Nose tribe at the time, with old Whizbang being the tribe's shaman. Whizbang was selfish, greedy, usually angry, and did not want any greenskin to compete with him or possibly steal his place, especially not Wurrzag. Whizbang, much to his dismay, one day found Wurrzag suspended in air, eyes glowing green, flat on his back, and bolts of green lightning crackling from his body, arcing to the ground. Obviously, this made Whizbang proper mad, as the orcs would say, and had Wurrzag immediately exiled. Now this would naturally be a death sentence for any ordinary greenskin, as the jungles here were full of vicious monsters that were always looking for like their next meal. Wurrzag, however, was no ordinary greenskin, and whether by Gorkenwork's will, or perhaps the green lightning spitting out of his body, or even just the scent of apparent ozone that he gave off, Wurrzag was spared. I don't know what ozone smells like, but I guess it smells pretty bad. The young orc grew into the massive form we know today, wandering the jungles, eating what he could scavenge. Most of his time was spent in trances, or dreamlike states that seemed to be leading him towards something. However, he did not know what or where this something was. The savage monsters he once feared even became appreciated by him, as they seemed to help guard Wurrzag as he wandered defenselessly. It was not until a night where both moons in the sky were full at the same time that our favorite little greenie snapped out of his trance, out of his weakness, to find himself in an old ruined orc fortress. Scouring through the ruins and cautiously making his way to the relatively intact building at the back of the camp, he found it all to be strange, as even the halls were lined with paintings, which, as you know, finding an orc base with paintings in it, kinda strange. He thought this might have been the place where he'd find his answers, and right as he had just about given up searching, he fell through the floor, smashed his head, and passed out. Upon waking up, he found himself in an old throne room. He quickly sprang to his feet and forgot about the pain, from falling to the floor, as he laid his eyes on the mask that would soon become his iconic face covering. The mask was still resting on the skeletal face of its original owner, who, upon taking the mask, essentially crumbled to dust. But anyways, he thought it strange that the body crumbled but the mask was still as solid as ever. But, he cautiously put it onto his face, only to have the throne room suddenly explode back into its normal original glory. Torches blazing, the room covered in ornate furs. Much like Jim Carrey in the Mask movie, Wurrzag tried to wrench the mask off of his face, but found it to be stuck on pretty tight. His struggles with the mask suddenly came to an end when a ghostly green figure appeared before him. As he squinted and tried to make sense of what he was seeing, he realized that what he saw before him was an image of his younger self wearing the same mask. Wurrzag, Gork and Mork have chosen you for a great mission. Must seek out the woods and future Git and bring him here. Who? Replied Wurrzag. Oi, said younger Wurrzag. The true Git will prove himself by drawing his mask once more from the gaffer stone. Turning to draw Wurzag's attention to a statue of presumably a stunty, or a dwarf, in the corner of the room with a massive axe stuck in its head. Only the Git could do this, and it is your task to seek him out and bring him here. With that, Wurzag's adventure began. His first stop was back to the Bone-Nosed tribe lands, where Whizbang still ran the show. The tribe noticed this time, though, that Wurrzag was bigger. He was greener, he was meaner, and he had a purpose. A confrontation between the two shaman broke out, and when the dust settled, there was only a bizarre-looking squig where Whizbang once stood, and as we said before, hair on his head, kind of a weird-looking thing, right? Which Wurrzag scooped up, put him on top of his new staff, which is, as I said before, actually in a cage on his back in Warhammer 2. Yeah, that's actually Whizbang in that little cage. The Greenskins of the tribe were about ready to eat Wurrzag as his punishment for turning their shaman into a squig, naturally, but were halted when Wurrzag suddenly went into a trance and started speaking about the glory that was to be reclaimed by the Nosebone tribe. Once he finished, he exclaimed, "I'm off to find the Git. Anyone coming?" Their glory was stolen, or cut. See, the Nosebone tribe's glory was stolen by the Cold-Blooded Ones, or the Lizardmen, who had built the pyramids and caused the tribe's curse when they razed the idols found there. Obviously, the only proper thing to do next was to march on the nearest lizardman city, raise it, and then take the stones crumbled from the pyramids and build 2 stone idols to watch over the Nosebones. With the Nosebones rallied and down the road doing much better financially and power-wise, Wurrzag could only rise to fame. Going from land to land, he helped greenskin tribes in need, or just gave the warring war bosses that extra push they needed to just obliterate their enemies. Eventually, he found himself with Grimgor Ironhide, who Wurrzag refers to as the Mighty Git, which Grimgor really hates. And, he would go on to assist the orcs in the end times. Not too many people enjoy end times lore, but I do, so I'll keep it summed up and short. Wurrzag quickly realized that Gork and Mork wanted him to find not one great Git, but a fist of Gork and a hand of Mork. He believed the fist of Gork to be Grimgor Ironhide. Grimgor hated Wurrzag at first, and often thought of killing him, until one day, Gork reached down and gave Grimgor a flick on the noggin, which helped both Wurrzag and Grimgor to realize that it was destiny. So Wurrzag would eventually go on to invade the Chaos Dwarf realm with Grimgor, where they and Borgut Facebeater brought down the Stunty's Bull God statue. So that's pretty much all I got for Wurrzag. He is just kind of a wandering greenskin shaman who is just hilarious. He dances, he will fight if he needs to, but he prefers to dance and encourage all his boys to just slaughter. He's usually around a bunch of savage orcs that will carry him from one place to the next place, but he will forever be my favorite little crazy greenie, and I genuinely can't wait to play him in Warhammer 3. Thank you for watching my first attempt at telling Warhammer lore. I've noticed a lot of people talking about 40k lore recently, which makes sense with Darktide coming out. I have a passion for Age of Sigmar and old world stuff, so I hope you enjoyed this, and maybe I'll do some more in the future. Have a great night, and be happy, everybody.